All right, we are streaming. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool. And we've got a special guest today, Jonathan. But first, I got to say, was that like your nighttime edition of the show?
It is.
Like just slowing everything down, getting a little cool
for a
jazz.
auditioning for a radio spot here. So I gotta
12 midnight to 3 a.m. slot. Something like that. Very sexy. I'm very nice. I like it.
Green.
Yeah, so we've got a
green voice.
Yes, we've got a special guest today. This was introduced to me by a friend of mine in one of the groups, AI groups that I'm in, and his name is Steve Raju, and he wrote a book on AI that is. We've got advanced copies, so I feel pretty special about that. But it's going to be launching on April 14th. So we're going to be talking with him about the book, and the subtitle is "How to Think for Yourself When AI Thinks for You." The title is Cognitive Sovereignty. So pretty cool topic. Yeah. We've talked a lot about, like, is AI good or bad? Like, is it the end of the world? Like all these things, but we haven't really talked about the brain part and managing that for yourself as you use AI. So this will be a kind of a good.
What's it doing? What's it doing to our brain? Kind of like, what's social media done to our brain? What's AI going to do to our brain? I mean, I was telling you before we went live, I was listening to an interview with the guy. It's Avi Loeb. He's a Harvard he's a professor at Harvard, but he teaches physics. But I was listening. It was an interesting interview because he was talking about all sorts of stuff. But he got into AI, and it was kind of it's funny that we're doing this interview this week because this was like 2 days ago, and he was talking about this very thing, what it's doing to our minds, and what it will do over time if we, it's not against it, but it's all about using it in the right way and not letting it just think for us.
Yep. And Steve's got a very similar angle, so we'll be hearing the guy who wrote the book on it here shortly.
Absolutely.
So he's in the green room patiently. So let me read the little bio, and then Jonathan, you get the crowd warmed up, and I'm going to read the bio.
Okay.
Steve Raju is a writer, consultant, and chief AI officer at Hollow Tree Technologies, an AI consultancy based in Florida. His 30-year career has spanned software engineering, copywriting, and marketing, giving him an unusual vantage point on how technology is changing the way people work and think. Cognitive Sovereignty is his first book. He speaks at conferences and works with organizations on AI strategy, cognitive resilience, and the design of human AI working practices. He lives with his family, is an avid follower of Derby County and FC Barcelona, and retains a healthy skepticism toward anything that promises to make life frictionless. Please welcome to the show, Steve Raju.
Welcome, Steve.
That was tremendous. Thank you. Can I just pick you up on one thing? It's actually this looks like Derby. I know you would say Kentucky Derby. It's Derby. It looks like
really?
You should have an A in there. That's the greatest soccer team in the world. The city where I'm from.
And we don't even know what soccer is here.
Well, you'll get educated this summer, won't you? Well, with the FIFA World Cup and whatever. Thank you very much for that nice.
We know a little bit about soccer. We know about football.
Well, it's not a ball, and you don't use your feet very much, do you? So, apart from that, we accept it's a variation of rugby, which itself is a variation of the real football.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes. Anyway.
Here in Austin, we do have a pretty rabid following in Austin of their new club here that's been around for 4 or 5 years now, I think. So, there's a little bit of it here in Austin, but not in Jonathan's neck of the woods. There's
Tennessee. We
at high school. So, all right.
I coached my kids for a few years, and that was about the extent of it. So
yeah.
Well, actually, you're pretty good now. The USA, you might go a little bit further in the tournament. You never know.
Yeah,
once
that's right.
Positive results and soccer fever sweeps the nation. Who knows how?
If we can win a gold in hockey, then I have hopes for us in soccer.
Exactly.
Well, that's a sore subject in Canada, but I'm going to laugh whenever Canada loses. But anyway, never mind.
Well, Steve, before we do our beverages real quick, give people a quick reason they might want to stick around, something you might reveal here later on the show.
I think AI is having a really damaging effect on the way people think, which is really going to affect many areas of your life, not just work, but in personal life, how you interact with your family. And it is happening by stealth. It's happening just because of convenience. You don't know it's happening, and you will miss it when it's gone. That thing that makes you, you. And so now in this post-AI, pre-AGI time, this is the tiny window we have to kind of take a step back and think, what is happening to me and how can I stop it so I retain who I am despite whichever crazy way the world wants to go.
Very nice. All right.
From that statement, I'm assuming you had no use of AI in writing this book.
Well, I'll let you answer that, Steve, but I did read the answer to that in the book near the end.
I believe that AI is a tool, and like all tools, you can use a knife to chop your potatoes, or you can just go and stab when you don't like. I mean, it's really down to the intent and what you want to do with it. At its heart, what is AI? It is just data, computing powers, and math, which is linear algebra and calculus. Now, you may have hated math at school, but math is not inherently evil. It's discovered largely. It's part of the laws of the universe. So it's a tool. So how do you use the tool? I believe that the tool is used correctly when it's sequenced, when you put your own mind in first, when you try to wrestle with the idea or the work that you're trying to do, and then add an AI to augment and enhance you, not to replace you.
Yep. Absolutely. Kind of like a knife. It depends on which end you use and which end you hold. It will determine the results there you get. So, well, let's real quick, Steve. I know you don't have you've got a beverage, but you've got a good old fashioned glass of water with you, right?
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. Is that spring water, tap water, distilled water? There's all kinds of water.
It's water out the tap, which here in Metro Vancouver actually is not disgusting.
Good.
I guess we have a lot of snow that comes off the mountains, and
good mountain water.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. All right, well, Jonathan, what do you have real quick?
I'll be brief because I think this is a returning beverage. This is a Black Butte Porter. It's notes of rich chocolate and coffee. That's what always catches my attention. And where are these? It's Deschutes Brewing. So they're out of Bend. I thought they were on the West Coast, but they're in Bend, Oregon. So 5.5% ABV, 30 IBUs. And I've already had a little pre-sip, so I know this one's going to be good.
All right. Well, I have a collab from Infamous Brewing and Rogue American or Invader Coffee. It's Mexican chocolate coffee stout. So, Jonathan, you and I are on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
But I've got the
Mexican. Looks better. I like the
Mexican chocolate is one of my favorite coffees that Invader Coffee has. But
it's good name for a band.
Yeah. And so Infamous Brewing. I don't see the ABV, but it's probably pretty high. I don't know what it is, but anyway, looks like a good one. Hopefully, it doesn't disappoint.
Steve, is there a beverage of choice when you're in the evening, when you're after hours, that you indulge in? Beer, wine, whiskey?
Well, I live in a part of the world which just drinks Molson, Kokanee. They all taste like fizzy water to me. I'm from England, so we're pub culture, and although that kind of died a death, there's thousands of pubs get closed every month now because it's just cheaper to drink at home. But I like to drink a nice British kind of bitter, a bit like my dad, Northern English kind of traditional beer, and I'll drink whiskey, and my favorite one is the Lafroig, which is a nice peaty one, which is very good if you've got a cough, which I actually have now. That's a good excuse to have.
There you go. There you go. Well, let's cheers it up to cognitive sovereignty.
There you go.
And have a good show.
Cheers.
Cheers.
There we go. A little louder there.
All right.
That's really sad to hear that pubs are closing down. I mean, what's up with that?
Yeah. Well, it's like all the breweries here closing down too.
Yeah.
It used to be the communal place where
you went
my dad working in heavy industry, it was the thing that it was a non-negotiable. You'd work 12 hours in blisteringly hot temperatures, heavy loads to carry, and then everybody would just go straight to the pub, drink 5 or 6 pints, and then no one really you'd call off the pub landline, call your wife and say I'm coming home, and then you just collapse unconscious. And I find it hard to kind of identify with that, but it was part of the fabric of the community. It's where people used to meet. It's where people used to have their wedding receptions, and then it was the only place where you can get decent beer.
Right.
But then once the Guinness figured out the widget, which would oxygenate your beer and give it a nice head, then they would say, well, why, if I don't smoke, why do I want my clothes to smell of smoke and get charged 4 times more than what I get
exactly
at home, people that I like, or on my own? And so, now most pubs the pubs that do well in England are really gastro pubs. They are restaurants that happen to serve beer.
Ah, okay. Yeah. And it's kind of the way it is here now. Yeah. I mean, you don't just see a place that serves, cold beverage. You got to have food with it.
Got to have at least a food truck outside, if nothing else. So,
and your dad, I was reading about in the book, your dad, he worked at a foundry, right? Yeah. So I know that's hard. I mean, I've been in foundries here in the U.S. and those places are sweltering hot, and I don't see how people do it all day. It's incredible.
I thought you were going to do a Trump speech there, Jonathan. I thought you were going to be like, I know foundries. I've been at some of the greatest foundries ever. I've seen the best foundries.
the biggest.
The hottest.
My dad also doesn't really identify with knowledge work or copywriting or anything.
Oh, yeah. He's old. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was 16, and then he kind of thrown into these very, very oppressive work environments where it's deafening. You don't have any back in the day. There was no ear defenders or anything like that. So everybody now of that generation, they're all walking like with a hunch, and you have to kind of shout 4 or 5 times and let me put my hearing aids in. And that's so the body has kind of been put under a lot of punishment. And then he would see me working from home, and I'm kind of thinking about a headline, or maybe I'm thinking about an advertising campaign, and he said, I'm watching how many times you click that mouse. You've clicked that mouse once in the last 5 minutes. That's not work. And so he doesn't think that I actually work for a living until he sees how much I bring in. I think there might be a little bit of jealousy how we be able to magic up money out of thin air, whereas he gets a tiny amount of rolled up banknotes in a little pay slip with a staple on it, and you'd go and line up at the payroll department on a Thursday night, and you'd get it, you'd count it out, you hand it over to your wife, she'd say, that's not enough. Don't you know I have to pay for the housekeeping? They get into an argument, the kids are crying, whatever. And he says, I just don't understand your world at all. How does that work? And I says, well, I guess it's a different kind of work. You provided for your family. It wasn't the point of you doing what you did to try and make it easier for the next generation. So why are you so upset? The mission accomplished. Be happy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Times have changed, Dad. I'm sorry.
The old pencil pusher idea, right? Anybody that didn't do physical labor was a pencil pusher.
Yeah.
And that was not a polite term.
I think we all have those conversations, probably not to the extent as your father, but I think we all have those conversations with the previous generation. It's like, what? How's that?
Yeah, I mean,
how's that work?
My dad still doesn't really understand copywriting. I mean, that's what I've done for the last 15 years. He's like, people pay you to do what?
The reason why I mentioned it in the book is that he, despite having this punishing work schedule and taking overtime because he didn't get paid very much, was a very strong man. And he would just a very fast walker. I always remember my little legs almost running all the time just to kind of barely keep up with him. Very, very dynamic man in that kind of way. But his work had built his body. His body had developed to the demands that were placed upon it. And more so now with the integration of AI into our workflow, we are thinking less and less. And it's neuroscience 101. I guess if you don't use it, you lose it.
We're getting soft. That's what we're
mentally soft.
Literally, we are getting soft. And the whole purpose of the book really was to draw attention to something that we're losing because of convenience. And you don't know until that time when, oh, Claude's down, or I've lost my Wi-Fi. Maybe I'll get a start on writing this sales page. How do you write a sales page?
I've had those.
Yeah, you did used to be able to do this, like second nature. Gary Halbert used to say, what was it like? If you just have a pencil and a notebook, that you can make enough money for to do very much the rest of your life. And I worry that most copywriters now couldn't do that. Like if you put them on a desert island with a pen and a notebook, they couldn't write a campaign. But they used to be able to, because there are a lot of very talented people. But it's a slow atrophying, because not only does your brain, the function of your brain and the capacity of your brain grow as demands are placed on it, it also, the opposite is true as well.
Absolutely.
When it gets to this idea that I don't need to stretch myself, then it's the cognitive equivalent of wearing sweatpants and watching reruns of The Office or whatever it is. Like it's nice, it's easy, but there'll come a time when your house is on fire and you need to kind of sprint down the road, and you've realized that you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. You just said, like, you think I need to whatever, but that's one of the points you make in the book is like, you don't even realize that you're saying that I don't need to do whatever. Like, it's becoming so unconscious how much we're turning over. And I've caught myself with this in the last year, and especially the last year. I was really excited about it at first when it came out, like a lot of people. But just like you mentioned, there came a time when I was just like sat down at a blank screen to write something, and it wasn't the same blank screen writing I'd had 5 years ago. It was a completely different feeling, and it was scary. Like I was like, whoa. And that's when I kind of took a step back and was like, oh, something else is going on here.
Sure.
So for the last year, it's been this constant like back and forth as, all or nothing. Like, do I just completely ditch AI and you cover that too. Like that ship is pretty much sailed. Like there's very little way to just not use AI moving forward.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you've got your fundamentalists who I think are ready to go off grid, and that's fine. I mean, that is a choice for some people, but not for the majority. And for the majority who are working for a business, for a company, their choice of tools is decided for them. Like they don't have the autonomy to say that I'm not going to use AI at all. Like they have to, or the demands of client work or whatever means that they have to produce a volume now that only AI can fill. So I don't believe that is a realistic option for the majority of people. What I am saying is it has to be an intelligent use of AI. And it's a bit like going back to my dad. If I said to him, the thing to do after you go to work is, like my friends, we go to the gym. And he said, well, what would you go to the gym for? Well, to lift weights. Because, well, I've been doing that for 10 hours. Why would I want to do that? However, we do that. And the reason we do it is because especially when we get to our age, we realize that, our muscles start to waste away. They start to atrophy. I don't do physical labor. I need to artificially reintroduce some kind of physical labor to keep my muscles strong, strengthen my joints, get a sweat on, good for my VO2 max, whatever it is. So the same thing cognitively now, I believe that we have to kind of reintroduce some friction, reintroduce some kind of cognitive labor to get our brain working again. And you can still have AI as part of that workflow. Often it's just a case of the sequence in which we do things, or at what point we introduce AI to verify, to augment, to be a sparring partner, to have a back and forth, rather than just being like a child and saying to its mother, can you cut up my food for me? And can you put it in my mouth? And also, can you kind of rotate my jaw a bit? That's what some people are basically doing, which sounds ridiculous when you put it like that. But it's reintroducing that labor. And there are smart ways of doing it where you can still be productive. You can still get a lot of work done, but at the same time, make sure that your brain's getting that work out.
Yeah. And before we go to some of those solutions, we may want to save them, for people for the book, but I want to back up a little bit, Steve, and talk about the 4 areas that are, very human, that with AI and no other technology before, we're starting to give up, that is starting to go over, or that we're losing, that's atrophying because of this. And you talk about these 4 areas. I was taking notes, and I drew it as a Venn diagram with cognitive sovereignty in the middle, because that's how my brain processed it. But yeah, can you talk about those 4 different areas real quick?
Yes, the neuroscientists would say that there are 10, 15, 20 different areas of cognition. Many of them overlap. I kind of simplified it down to 4. And I say, if one way to kind of think of it is to think of your brain as like its own independent nation. It's got a very proud history. It's very capable. The people that live there are very proud of what they do, and it's capable of great things in the future. And I would say that nation has a terrain, has a landscape. And if you want to know how to defend a country, you have to know what are the assets, what are the borders. I would say the borders are your ability to think critically and your metacognition. And metacognition is just the ability to step outside yourself and say, Steve, you're being a bit of a jerk then. Why did you say that? Or why are you doing this for? And a lot of people lack metacognition, which is why they get away with posting whatever they do on social media. It took 10 minutes to think, that's not particularly a great idea. They might not do it. So they're your borders. And I believe that if you're unable to have any kind of critical thinking, like if someone posts something that is emotionally provocative, and it might resonate with you because of your values or what you believe, but it may be that the actual source article that they're quoting doesn't actually even say that. And you see so many people reacting emotionally in the comments, and no one's actually taking a think. So what is actually being said here? Is that actually what happened? Okay, here's a link. I'm going to read the article. I'm going to actually read the article. And you realize what the person posted, actually, the article doesn't actually say that.
Right.
On your side, as it were. So then you think, okay, well, I still like this guy who posted, but I won't comment because I don't think that it's, rather than just racing off and saying, yeah, I agree with that, and get yourself all worked up or angry. And then even the ability outside of work to have metacognition, which is to thinking about your thinking, the ability to kind of step outside yourself and be able to almost be like that neutral observer where you say, I'm kind of going in the wrong way here, or maybe I shouldn't have said what I said. And I think that's really bad for interpersonal relationships where people are losing the ability to reflect on what they've done or what they plan to do, or if everybody's just reacting in the moment because a TikTok algorithm has decided that you should be angry or you should be entertained or laugh or whatever, then we're just becoming, I think I say just passengers on somebody else's like flight, and someone's bought the ticket for us, decided that we're going who knows where, and that's a loss of sovereignty. And I say that cognitive sovereignty is, first of all, defending those borders, which is your critical thinking and your metacognition. And I say, and then inside that simplified core is your complex decision making, the ability to see that there's 2 things can be true at the same time. That situations are not always black and white. There are nuances, and there's a 4th one. You can tell that I'm getting older because I
creative thinking.
There you go, the creative thinking. So I think one thing that people don't realize, especially in the creative industries, is that AI, having been trained on the sum total of human knowledge, has a lot of dots. When we talk about connecting the dots, AI has a lot of dots, and it's very good at synthesis in that it will be able to take some input and then give you a summarization, or maybe get to think of some directions in which these dots can take you. But what it can't do very well is tell you which dot is missing, because it doesn't work like that. It only is only able to process on the available input. It can't reason, which is also part of your cognitive core, and then say, well, based on my discernment and my knowledge, and also tacit knowledge, this is things that are necessary to do the work that has never been written down. And even if I did record them, it doesn't really make sense outside of that moment. And that's very hard for an AI to understand. That even if we need that to be able to be creative, to know what is missing. And something that I know for copywriters, there's that book, A Technique for Producing Ideas, that talk about, getting that source material, getting as much as you can, then going off for a walk, walking your dog, having a shower, and then somehow the incubation process allows you to have some kind of eureka moment where it's like the big idea or a new angle or whatever. And AI can't do that. It has no incubation process. It doesn't know what the missing dots are. That requires you. And the other thing is that some of the best ideas have been where you take two domains of knowledge which are completely unrelated and smash them together and then make something new. And then AI is good at things that are naturally related because it looks at mathematical statistical abilities, but things that got nothing to do with each other. Like I talk about cognitive sovereignty, the effect of AI with the history of Finland with the Soviet Union in the Cold War, and AI wouldn't come up with that. That was a result of me going off some really weird tangents that only humans can do. It started off from, I'm getting a bit burned out by all this AI stuff. I'm subscribed to every AI newsletter. I'm testing out every tool. And this was 2 or 3 years ago. And I was burning myself out then. And I realized we're not meant to keep up. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to be redefining myself as more than a copywriter, every time I seem to think, oh, I'm going to be focusing on this new technology, things are just moving all the time. And so I decided to, in Canada, they would say skate to where the puck is going. So where is the puck going? And something that AI wouldn't have been able to tell me is I was randomly watching the movie Wall-E with my son. I saw those hyper obese people in their big lazy boys, if you remember that, the future where no one's doing anything for themselves. And I got this idea from a Wall-E of, well, at this rate, we're all going to become intellectually enfeebled if we're unable to have complex decision-making and creative thinking. And so from that, I was able to come up with this idea of cognitive sovereignty based on how did Finland remain independent despite having a long undefended border with this superpower. So we're like Finland, and we have this huge superpower right next to which is AI. So that's the essence of the book. But that came all from my own noggin, incubating, looking, thinking, observing, going for walks, random ideas like kids' movies, things observed in nature, the way Aaron Sorkin, writer of The West Wing, would have 6 showers a day because that's his way of getting ideas. And so those are random things that AI would never be able to do, but you can. That's the amazing thing about your brain. You can any way you like, and AI is quite limited. I interviewed a professor of consciousness and cognition at Cambridge University, and he said that AI is a neural network, which is you have these neurons, as it were, and you have inputs and mathematical calculations being done over thousands of layers, and then you have linear algebra and calculus all in that, but it's all very structured. It's going one direction, whereas your brain is 3-dimensional. And it is going in multiple directions all the time. And your brain never remains the same from one second to another. It is always changing. And so the two can't be compared. If AI uses neuroscience words like neural networks, but it is not even a very poor copy of what the brain is capable of. And I think if you're a creative person, you do yourself a disservice to not work on your creative thinking and your complex decision making, because that really is, at essence, who you are. Yeah. And I've given you a backstory to how the book came about as well. So
that can you real quick before we jump ahead, can you talk about, because I found that fascinating, and connect the story of Finland back in the day. I guess this was post-war, defending their border against Russia. And that's actually a really good that's a good example. And I didn't know that because I love history, but that's something that I didn't know about the country of Finland.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for examples where we've had what seems to be a very vulnerable small state bordered by this gigantic superpower, which is only growing more and more powerful by the year. And how, if there's any examples in history where a small state has not been subsumed, and there are a few around the world, but I like the idea that the Baltic states, for example, so you got Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia were subsumed into the Soviet Union, but Finland was right next to them, and they had the longest border. I think it's like 1,200 kilometers, poorly defended, quite porous, and so you'd expect them to follow suit with the other Baltic states, and they didn't. And so I was curious as to what was different about them, and I think it's the same with us, like. People around us, the people that we work with, the people that we interact with on social media, or even our friends or our family, there are many who will give away their cognitive sovereignty. They don't even know it's a problem. They don't even know that it's happening. But we can make the decision like Finland. So I was interested about what was it about them, and they knew very clearly that we're not going to beat them in a straight military fight. How can we?
No, they would have been mowed over.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to have to trade. The Soviet Union is right next to us. We have no choice over that. We can benefit from them through trade, and we have to be skillful in the way we build strategic alliances and the way we kind of work with the Soviets. We'll have Stalin over for tea, but we'll have our red lines as well. And the good thing that Finland knew, they knew what was unique about them. Like the Finnish language is very, very different to the other languages in Scandinavia. They had a very proud culture, but they fought where there were things that they would let go, and there were certain areas, certain battles where they said, no, you can't move a single inch. And I guess that the climate worked in their advantage as well. So they saw what are their unique advantages. They knew what they were defending. They weren't going to get into a straight battle. And so in the same way, I don't think it's realistic to say I'm never going to use AI ever again. But at the same time, there are ways in which we can benefit from AI, but we have to have our red lines. We have to know what our borders are, what we're defending, what we won't give away. And so that's all of the book about how we can do that practically.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. AI, the superpower, or, either is or fast becoming against our, a lot of maybe feeble brains, comparatively speaking, in some regards, but then we have those strengths that are worth defending, the creative thinking, all that kind of stuff. You mentioned the creative process earlier, Steve. And my first copy chief, when I got into copywriting 15 years ago, he did a talk one time about putting ideas together and kind of how you do that to come up with an original idea and all that. And the example he used, which I've never forgotten, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Right? Like, can you imagine AI like from scratch?
Yeah.
You say, I need a good idea for a cartoon character. It would never come up with teenagers, ninjas, mutants, and turtles, and put that together as one character, right? Yep. I mean, most humans wouldn't even do that, but it works somehow. And that's a distinctly human, kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember running home when I would have been probably 1989, running home to watch Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, because they thought ninjas was too violent for the. I don't know if in the UK it was kind of like, but yeah, and so I think that is an ability. If we have it, we should continue to strengthen it, and we have to be careful that we're not losing it. To be the ability to take disparate, diverse domains that have nothing to do with each other, and being able to pull together what is common, the commonalities between them, the interesting or unexpected connections, because that is something that AI can't do, and we can practice it. And one of the things I used to do when I was teaching copywriting, I used to like writing jokes, because AI, if you ever got AI to write a joke, it's terrible. And I used to do a workshop called You'll AI laughing. But it was when someone if you've ever told a joke, and I do this a lot with my wife, who's Canadian, has a different sense of humor and from a different part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I tell a joke with my dry British sense of humor, and she says, I don't get it. And so I explain the joke to her, and then she's like, now she understands the joke, but she's not laughing. It's the element of surprise, it's the element of conveying subtext. Where the person, you don't have to spell it out, but they've joined the dots in their head. Now that is pure copywriting. You see the best stand-up comedians, the ability to command the attention of a room,
mm-hmm.
and to tell a story and have them hanging over every word. Now they're moving to a CTA, and their call to action is, I want you to laugh when I want you to laugh.
Yep.
And for us, we don't have a room, as it were, but we do have an audience, and we want them to hang on our every word and not drop off. And then we want them to not laugh, but we want them to click that button. We want them to buy. We want them to opt in. So I was really interested in a very human thing that AI cannot do at all, is the ability to write a joke that is funny. So then I would go into Scott Dicker's The Onion has a book, which names escapes me right now, but it's about how to write jokes. And so what I would do as a practice for my own brain is, if I used to see an article in a tabloid newspaper in England, there's a lot, and there would be a pun on the story, I would try and beat the pun, write a funnier headline.
Yeah.
And that's not really necessarily going to help me in my client work directly, but it is keeping my brain really, really sharp, and it's kind of fun to do as well. And then I would start writing my own jokes. So I would think about, so what is in the news? And there was a thing, well, it was like Prince Andrew. The whole Prince Andrew thing really started to break into the news around the time when the Queen died. And so I wrote a pun when the Queen was buried in that royal kind of crypt. And I would say Britain's start 30 days of mourning that Andrew wasn't buried alongside his mother, or something like that. So you take something that's kind of in common consciousness, and then you make the joke, and you're alluding to something, but you're not saying it. And so I would just try and write about 10 jokes a day, because that's the kind of thing that I used to kind of crack myself up laughing. And some of them will actually get into my own copywriting when I was selling my own products as well. But the idea is whatever you think that is sustainable, but to have some kind of labor, some kind of creative friction that keeps those muscles strong. And then, you would still be able to write the sales page without a Claude or a Chat GPT. And I think that's really important.
What's interesting is I did the same. I did a stand-up class one time. It was great. I need to do another one. Did an open mic night and the whole bit. But there's a couple times where I've tried to get AI to write a joke, and it's just terrible. Like one, and I was going to ask you about this, because it's something that frustrates me with all the different AI chats, is they have no sense of time. It doesn't know if it's been 2 seconds since you answered the last question, or 2 weeks, or 2 months. And it doesn't seem to have any, it seems like it could check a clock somewhere, but it doesn't. So there's a lot of context and nuance that's missed because it doesn't understand time. So in comedy, that's a big timing.
Yeah. Timing is everything.
Timing
but the other thing is relating to your own personal life, because that's the funniest thing. I think self-deprecation is probably one of the, it's one of the lost arts of comedy, is like the ability to, really make fun of your own self and your own life. And, some of that comes through personal experiences and stories.
Well, that's the metacognition.
Yeah.
Right. Being able to observe your own life and see the absurdity of it. Right. That's a big piece of it. But what's interesting, so you just finish that thought real quick, is that if I give AI the idea and I say, write this like a Kevin Hart stand-up, it'll nail it. But I have to give it the core idea.
Yep.
Then it can extrapolate from there. Or if I say, write a Seinfeld episode about, so I had this a couple years ago.
The greeting card. Yeah.
The birthday card. I was like,
the birthday card.
It'd been my birthday, and this card was sitting on my desk, and it'd been like 2 weeks. And I was like, how long do you keep a birthday card? Do you, and I was like, that is such a Seinfeld question. Like, how long do you keep a birthday card? Right.
Yeah.
You could see like George and
Because some of these birthday cards get up there. I mean, they're like,
it's like,
well,
from your mom, you're going to keep it at 30 days. From your friend, you keep it like 7 days.
Right.
There's a scale, like the whole bit. And then Kramer's got a card company that helps you file them away or something. But if I gave that, if I gave that much of a premise to ChatGPT or whatever, it nails it. It gets the voice right. It gets everything right because it's got so much context. But it could never come up with that idea.
Yeah.
Yes. So you've told it, I want to write like Seinfeld. And then in the neural network, it's saying Seinfeld. And then in this big high dimensional space, it is pointing to all of these different related concepts. It's actually using trigonometry. It has different ideas and concepts of words and tokens. And then it's actually using a cosine to say that these two are close together. Therefore, statistically, they should be in the same sentence. It has no idea what it's kind of spouting out. It's very, very good at the parlor trick of making it seem like it's almost like Larry David himself is actually writing that.
And I think that's what's
do that. It's not only does it have 9 seasons of scripts, that's a lot of tokens, but the amount of commentary that there's been, having swallowed the entire internet, it means that it has a huge amount of statistical raw data with which to be able to spit out something that seems like it's a Seinfeld script, and it can nail it. Okay, but what if you have a unique set of circumstances, like this is the product, this is your client, this is how the product range fits in their range of products, this is the market, this is where their market is right now. Maybe it is weight loss, maybe it is something to do with your hair, maybe it is something completely different, maybe it's like business coaching or whatever. And there's a unique context for every single offer that you write for. And so you're not able to have this static, huge vat or vault of information like you have with Seinfeld. And that's when you see it starts to fill in the blanks and helpfully hallucinate, because the way it works is that I'm a good dog. I did the task and it filled it in with what is this? Like, this is just statistical, but you so I just want to say, I talk in the book about calibrating your expectations to the domain. Yes, you should expect that it should do a decent job on Seinfeld because, like you said, there's a huge amount of context. But when you're actually producing not just work that is serviceable, that it's okay, but we aim for, particularly if you're working for yourself and your professional reputation is important, you're aiming for outstanding work. And that's when there are outliers that AI. You're not looking for statistically average. That's not what your clients want. You can create the deliverable, but it might fail in the real world, and then good luck in getting more gigs with them. So that's where you want to have your own unique discernment, understanding, taste, what some people say, and apply that to what the AI can do.
Yeah, and your own gut instinct about what feels right, and and that's one thing I think. When I look at AI and I look at the outputs, that's what I'm looking for, is that gut response.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's good, but this doesn't make sense. Like, this is a little, but if you've never done the craft, you can't tell good output from bad output.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, AI, it lacks temporal cognition, doesn't understand time. It doesn't understand necessarily, it's getting better now. What is socially acceptable. For example, there's the classic examples of the wife wants to divorce the husband, so that she's looking at divorce lawyers on the computer, and then later on she's being retargeted by all the divorce lawyers. But by this time, it's on the computer. So it's like, why am I getting targeted all the time for a divorce? Does my wife want a divorce? That's not necessarily a good candidate for automatically retargeting a person, because they're obviously probably trying to search confidentially. And there's also one when display ads first became a thing. One newspaper had a lot of complaints because there was a harrowing story of multiple murder, and the bodies are all found inside a wardrobe, all stuffed in a wardrobe. And then the local furniture store would have adverts for wardrobes right next to the story, because the algorithm thought, oh, they're reading about wardrobes, they should be interested in wardrobes. Let me tell you about this wardrobe offer that's happening in the local area. So it lacks a conscience, it lacks ethics, because these things, tact is from it's from the Latin root for tactile, and it literally means to feel out a situation. Now, if with my wife, there's certain things when you're newly married, you'll say something and it doesn't go very well, and you learn that you don't do that again. Especially with my British sarcastic sense of humor, I think that doesn't really go well with a Canadian. So you learn because you felt it, you felt the pain, you felt feeling bad, and AI doesn't feel bad about anything. And I say that an AI can tell you which way is north, but doesn't care why that matters. It doesn't care. And that does matter when it comes to the quality of the output or usable output. So our emotions create a prioritization of what needs to be said, or how it needs to be said. And even if an AI seems to get it right, it is really just doing like an impressionist would do an impression of Trump or Barack Obama or whatever. It appears to be the real thing, but it's not really, and you can't depend upon it. And if you do, you will lose something of your own brain, of yourself in the process.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it has a tendency to, if it sees a pattern that has worked well throughout information history, right? Then it tends to overuse that pattern. The M dash, because it's in all high quality literature, has the M dash, right? Like, I know a lot of people get upset about the M dash, but those people obviously haven't read a lot of good writing because it's been there forever. But AI will overuse it because it's in so much highly critically acclaimed writing that then it thinks, well, it must be good, so I need to put this in like every paragraph, just like putting phrases of 3. It overuses those because it doesn't understand timing and context and how far apart these two things are. It's just the next, output.
It loves the M dash. It loves triads. It loves juxtapositions. It's not X, it's Y. And it's a bit like, I'd say, English is a second language. When somebody who's learning English, I remember a friend of mine from Spain, and he would say, can you pass me the canife? And I beg your pardon. And he said, the cuchillo. And he said, oh, you mean knife? What?
Canife.
Knife.
That's hilarious.
That's knife. Well, show me. And then I would show him, and he would say, but it says it starts with a K. Yeah, you don't say that.
Yeah.
What? It's called a silent letter. You don't say it. So in what circumstances then do you randomly decide, you English people, that you're not going to say certain letters? I didn't really know how to explain it. I know there's a rule now for KNs, but at the time I said, I don't know, you just have to learn them one by one.
Yeah.
This is a ridiculous language. And I think that kind of reminds me a bit like what AI is. Like, it doesn't know certain things that to us are tacit. We learned them once years ago in school, and then we just kind of like, well, that's just the way things are done. But AI needs everything spelled out for it because it's not a person.
Yeah.
It understand in that sense.
And Sean, I was going to mention, you had said, you mentioned our gut, that gut feeling, that subconscious mind that we have. I think that's so important. I was listening to an interview, Chris Voss, the guy from The Negotiator, what is it? The book, Never Split the Difference. Yeah. So I was listening to an interview with him this week where he says the conscious mind processes about 40 pieces of information per second, but the subconscious mind, our gut, is processing 20 million pieces of information in the same time frame.
Yes.
That's pretty, and you think about that, our gut is that gut feeling that we have. That's something that, AI just doesn't, you can't replicate that.
Yeah. And to like Steve's point, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, see if I'm putting things together correctly or if I'm acting like AI. That those 20 million things are so varied and so they're not tangents. They're completely different pieces of data that you've gathered over a lifetime.
Yeah.
That are all being processed in that millisecond. Whereas AI is going to try to go down a very linear track with maybe 1 degree or 2 off to the sides to kind of, pull things together. Like one Dewey Decimal over from the core subject, but it's not going to go to the other side of the library and pull that in.
Yeah, exactly. Like the things that you would say that are not necessarily related. It is looking for what is statistical relations, but we're able to go deeper than that. And I was having a discussion with a graphic designer saying how AI appears to come up with the right answers, but it doesn't really understand the overall feel of it. Mm-hmm. And I said, your own emotions that you bring to your craft are so important because they act as that prioritization mechanism of how things should be set. And said, if you've ever been into a meeting and you present your proposal or your project or whatever, and the manager's like, purses a lips, or somebody just pauses an extra half second, or somebody says, in England, we'd say, that's interesting. Yes. Now, an AI would do your tech would then to convert that into text and say, that's interesting. And the code can say, I got a positive response, let's go for it. Whereas a human would say, I don't like it. You know what I mean? So that's a very uniquely human thing that we're able to do. Where we're able to, and then when a lot of decisions are made based on, like you say, your gut, which affects your physiology, which then affects your emotions. And our brain is also, I mean, I've had people say to me, is your next book going to be about your gut, your actual literal gut, which has just as many neurons, it's like literally like your second brain and your subconscious. And there's all this tacit information, the scars you've had when you've submitted work for a client and they've hated it, or you've been fired by a client, or you've said something that was culturally insensitive to a particular market, or AI has never been shouted at. It's never fired. It's never looked at its credit card bill and think, my biggest client just fired me and I'm wondering how I'm going to pay this, or I've got mortgage payment coming up, or I have unexpected medical bills, or whatever. It doesn't feel any of that. When we feel this, then all of a sudden, does that not concentrate our brain that I really need to get onto my prospecting now because I've got to pay this bill? AI doesn't feel any of that. That physiology, that emotion, that subconscious, that gut creates tacit knowledge that you can't record. Even if you think you should record it and then train the AI, it's very hard to articulate. And even if you could articulate it, it appears like in a split second, it's gone again. It's like quantum. And so how would you even train an AI? And so that's why AI is an augmenter to us, I believe, but it cannot substitute us completely.
Yeah. And that's the nuance. And like you said, it's not getting talked about enough because it is so hard to put into words. And I guess that's why, the open AIs and Anthropics of the world aren't programming that in, because it's like you said, how would you do that? Like, it's too big of a problem. It's too slow of a problem, I think, to figure out.
Yeah.
When you could be working on all these other bugs and fixes and making it perform on a test better and everything else.
Yeah.
I don't know if it ever gets to, I don't know if AGI is different or how that works, but,
Well, did you as a baby, did you learn everything that you know about life just from reading books? No.
No. From experience, trial and error.
I heard about in the beginning, babies put everything in their mouth, and Dave Trott, the UK advertising kind of legend, would say that a baby puts everything in its mouth. It puts its fingers in its mouth, and it will say, "Okay, but should I do that? Oh no, that hurts. That's me, and that's the world. That's the difference between me and the world." Yeah. And then it's able then to learn. That's how we learn like that. And large language models, and I know they're getting multimodal, but if you've ever seen how the crazy kind of physics bending things happen, we know AI generated videos, the way people tend to fall or run or whatever. And then you realize that AI doesn't really understand the world. It doesn't really understand physics, doesn't really truly understand gravity or anything like that. So that will be in the next model. Yann LeCun, one of the godfathers of AI, recently chief scientist of Meta, he's left and started his own company, says that the large language models are a dead end. We don't learn. That's not the way we learn. We don't just learn just by reading lots and lots of text. We learn through experience. We learn from hurting ourselves. And so we need a completely different foundation for AI. And I think Google realizes this as well, but that is such a monumental task. But unfortunately, AI as it is really just framed for its economic benefit, not necessarily in how it impacts and benefits humanity. And so it will be very capable of doing tasks, but it'll be marketed as if it can get rid of people. And a lot of people will lose their jobs, but then you'll end up with every company with really bad voice agents giving terrible customer service. It's terrible. Offer. It's not going to make everybody's life better.
Yeah.
I was in, I'll mention real quick. I was in Las Vegas this week for a trade show. And I'm staying at I'm at a hotel. I'm staying at the Westgate Resort and Casino. And these hotels, they have shops all on the first floor. And I'm walking by, and there's a few shops on the hotel floor, on the ground floor lobby. And I look over to the right, and I see in this one shop, there's a T-shirt that's hanging that says, "Bad decisions make great stories." Which is like, I mean, that's so typical of Vegas, right? I mean, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but but that's true. I was like, yep, that's so true. Some of our worst mistakes, or what a friend of ours says, your message, sometimes your message, or, those mistakes make great stories. They hurt in the early beginnings. They're not real comfortable, but sometimes they make really good stories down the road that you're able to tell. And that's something that, AI will never be able to do, is, really just kind of dig into those stories, right? Those mistakes, those things that happen, the mess in your life.
Yeah. It's never buried a family member. It's never stood crying.
That's right.
It's never had its heart broken, never been two-timed by a girl.
Absolutely.
That's not happened to me, but I have had my heart broken. But you know what? When you go to somebody else's funeral, maybe it's a work colleague's or it's like a distant friend, and you're there, but often your thoughts maybe go off to maybe the parent that you lost, or your best friend passed away because of cancer, because then you relate the story to something about you, something uniquely human. As we know, as copywriters, that we're hardwired for stories, but it's like the mirror neurons, like we say, yeah, that happened to me, or I felt like that, or he's nailed it. And even when AI appears to have this very fluent and coherent text, if you metacognition is working, you realize it hasn't felt like. How could it feel anything like that? And so it creates distance. And I was reading something on Substack today about, you have the TLDR. Now we have the AIDR. So when people tune out because, it's just full of triads and juxtapositions and M dashes. And so TLDR was, okay, you put all the effort in, but it's too long. So I'm just going to go down for the summary. And the AIDR is, you put no effort in this, therefore it's not worth my time. I'm not even going to bother reading the summary or that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the way society is going. And I'm just saying that take a bit of a moment, like I did 2-3 years ago. We think logically, where is the world going? If the trajectory that has been decided by big tech is that it's all about efficiency, it's all about making money, that there's going to be a trade-off. Some people will be happy to make the trade-off. Some people will make the trade-off and not realize it's happened. I just want by this book to make people realize that there is a trade-off. And you can still benefit. You can still benefit from AI, but don't lose what makes you. To navigate in an unstable and a challenging world, and you do need to retain the innate right and capability to think for yourself. And there is a way to do it.
Yeah.
And this is just one little contribution to that conversation.
I want to kind of end on this since we're getting close on time, Steve. But you talked about output and how that seems to be what's driving AI. Is like, okay, we can do more output, right? Because that's something people can track on spreadsheets and reduce labor costs and those kind of things. But then you did a great job of talking about, I can't remember the name of the law, but is in the washing machine section.
Jevons paradox.
Yeah. Jevons paradox. Can you just cover that? And because I've seen personally with friends of mine who were in the copywriting field, or maybe, something adjacent to that, where they latched onto AI and just kind of the nerdy word people they are, they really got into the AI, and, nothing wrong with that. But what I watched and what I observed was they were doing 10 times the output, but they were working the same hours. I was like, well, what's that's the technology promise that we always get.
Yeah.
And you talk about how that's been an age-old promise that just has never happened.
The end of work. What was that book? The End of Work, back in the...
I'll be honest with you. So I first started to write this book nearly 18 months ago. And in its first draft, I talked about it with a couple of people I knew that were prominent in the AI space. And I had a bit of pushback, which is why I delayed publishing, because I thought maybe people don't really want to hear this. And they said, AI is great. If anything, it has freed my mind up for higher order thinking. Sorry, the garbage truck's just arrived. And how's it bad for your brain? I can only think that it's really good for your brains. But I found that people who are using all these AI agents, they're now having to babysit those agents.
Mm-hmm.
They're having to they're having to correct, and it's actually created more work than it's actually saved them. So Jevons paradox is that you have this technological innovation that's supposed to make you more efficient, but if anything, it's actually created more work for you. So you're not actually sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas because AI is doing everything. If anything, it's made you more busy than you were before AI. So in what way are you benefiting? And it was a bit like washing machines. I would say that in the 50s and 60s, you have these traveling salesmen at these shows that would say to these skeptical housewives, you close in the top and they put the detergent in, and they say, well, what am I supposed to do then? Well, you can drink Chardonnay and you can go and play bridge with your friends, or whatever. And then what do you do today? If you're like me and you're in a family with kids, that dang washing machine is on all the time. It's like there's laundry every single day. So the amount of work expanded to fit the capability, the capacity. And so AI, the way it's been marketed, the reality is that people are more tired as a result of using AI, integrating it with their workflow. And I think there's got to be a more intelligent way of doing it.
Yeah, to your point, I was talking to a digital guy that runs a digital marketing agency a couple of weeks ago, and he said, they're implementing AI agents, but you have to monitor that stuff. It's not like you can just let the stuff run on its own. You have to monitor it constantly. So
it reminds me of Bender in Futurama when he realizes that the government pay you if you look after orphans. So he thinks that, I'll run my own orphanage. And then he's bemoaning the fact, you have to feed them every day. No one told me that with kids. He just thought, I'll just take the money and let them do whatever. And he realized, no, that doesn't really work like that. So that's the same thing. I think people think, it's just going to print money for me and I just let them do whatever.
Right.
It's just created more work. And that's not really the promise of AI, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Because as you mentioned in the book too, the quarterly reports want progress, and they're not really interested on saving time. They're interested in saving costs, but not saving time.
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't care if you fill up 24 hours or not. But you got to make the numbers. So
yeah.
Well, Steve, you give a lot of good answers, and we've talked a lot about the problems and things like that. And in the book, you do offer solutions and some techniques and things like that in the book. I want to make sure people know where to find the book. When does it come out? This will be live this will be live tomorrow on most platforms.
Yep.
So it'll be about 2 weeks before it comes out. But where can people get a sneak peek right now?
You can go to cognitivesovereignty.io, sign up for the wait list, and you can read chapter 1 for free. And then on the day it comes out officially, party day, April the 14th, 2026, everybody on the wait list gets 5 extra chapters, which will talk more about the difference between a compatibilist and a functionalist, which goes down to about, depending on which of the two camps you are in, how you feel about AI, like temporal cognition, why AI is like a Vegas casino, bunch of other stuff. So go to cognitivesovereignty.io, to get on the wait list. And I'll also let you know when the book is available for pre-orders, which should be in the next few days, but it's officially released on April the 14th.
Awesome.
All right. And if you can't spell sovereignty, use AI to figure it out.
It will help you. Yeah.
Because it took me a few tries to get it right, I have to admit. Even as a copywriter, I've never been a good speller. I'm not a good speller. That's just one of my weaknesses. Thank God for spell check and those things, you know. So there is some good uses for technology. And I love Steve.
Grammarly. Do you not use Grammarly?
Well, no, I don't have a subscription to it, but no, because I didn't like some of the suggestions it made. Like the blue underline is all the red underline is all I really need. Sure. Which is funny because I was reading the advanced copy you sent, Steve, and like, because you're Canadian or English or whatever you write in, like neighborhood, you know, like there's a lot of words that you spell differently, and it was just had little red underlines. So I was like,
I've seen people using AI to write their emails and then going and deliberately adding spelling mistakes.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Like they kind of half-assing it. So
yeah, you're gonna need a plugin soon in your Chrome browser to go back and edit in mistakes of what the AI wrote.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'll be another $20 a month subscription that you'll need.
Yeah.
That's to write badly.
I've tried that whole email thing, and I'm like, I write better emails than you.
It's so distracting.
It's so horrible,
especially because they're forcing it on you. Like it's just there, and you don't. Then you got to figure out how to turn it off, and it's like a 47-step process to turn it off. It's a lot. So well, Steve, this has been fun. Really appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us, pre-book, sending us a copy. I'm looking forward to getting a hard copy, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
So
why don't you, any last words you want to say to the people?
I would just say that, and I mentioned this in the book, if an AI is like a plant, if you're not very good at watering your plants like me, just try to add water. If you notice the leaves are turning yellow, I think they are, most of us.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a way of adding water. Don't stop thinking. And there's so many forces that want us to stop thinking. But I think thinking is inherently you. It's one of the most precious things that you have. So if not my book, educate yourself on where is AI going and how can I protect my brain?
Yeah. And I will say, I love the fact that you don't really pick a side, doomsday, utopia, like, because we don't know. Like nobody knows, and it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle, like everything else. So you're giving real tools and real advice on how to live with it, not go off grid, but how to live with it in a productive way without losing your own cognitive sovereignty. Yeah. Right. So very good stuff. If you can hang out in the green room for just a second, Steve, sure. Jonathan and I'll wrap up, and then we'll have a little after show chat real quick if you've got the time.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Good stuff.
Man, I could talk all day about that. We didn't even cover, a lot of the solutions he has in the book. You'll just have to buy the book to get that.
Yeah. Well,
I put the link in
you teased it up. That was a perfect tease. Like, we're not going to give you the answer.
I mean, that would be, you got to buy the answer. I mean, that's how the world works.
Absolutely.
But no, it's a great book. It's an easy read. I like the writing style. Is really good. It's very, very straightforward. It's not too academic or anything like that.
Right.
So, I think it's very accessible to a lot of readers, and it's
I
would put this
as great he does a great job of you like the story of Finland. I mean, tying that in, that's very memorable to me. That's using that example is a great way, I think, of understanding the risk
power of metaphors, man. They just they're much stickier, and they're great. So when you use them well. So I put a link in the comments. We'll put it on the show notes. But it's cognitivesovereignty.io. You can get a free chapter there.
Yep.
And then you'll get on the list. You'll get some bonus chapters. You'll get notifications of when the book's live, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you go there and check that out.
And April 14th is the is the publication date. So remember that.
Yep. So do your taxes early so you can be reading it on the 14th.
I was just thinking about that. Tax day, liberation from AI and liberation from. I guess we paid the Uncle Sam. I don't know what it is over there in the UK, but yeah, that's a bad April 15th. Oh, he's in Canada. Okay, so April 15th is a bad day for us. That's not a great day.
Yeah. So when you're putting off your taxes till the last hour, go ahead and on the 14th, go ahead and order the book and then do your taxes
exactly
that night.
Exactly.
So, anyway.
All right. Well, good stuff. Yeah. So you can find us as always, persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your favorite digital or podcast platforms, Spotify, iTunes. Just to tease up next week's episode. This was episode 426. Next week's episode 427. We will be having the legendary Gary Halbert's son, Kevin Halbert, will be joining us on the podcast. Very cool. He's taken over a lot of the Gary Halbert Letters website, and we'll be talking to him about that, and should be a fun time of having him, on the show to talk some copywriting.
Yeah. We'll see what he thinks his old man would have said about
well, yeah. What would your dad say about
how would he have used it? Because he wouldn't have ignored it, I don't think. I think he would have figured out how to use it. So we'll find that out next week.
Yep. Sounds good. Check us out. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend.
See ya.